Good evening, everyone, and welcome to another edition of MSTR Mondays. Today, actually happening on a Monday, mind blowing. Okay, so one thing is I don't do thumbnails, and because I don't do thumbnails, I don't have those facial expressions that YouTube chooses, and then that brings I guess people to click. So I thought I'd try something funny and do one of those regarded face expressions and then see if YouTube chooses that as a thumbnail. And then I don't know. I just thought that would be funny. So I'm gonna do a face expression that I want to see and test if you choose that as a thumbnail. So maybe that will be chosen as a thumbnail. I don't know. Just yeah. Oh, you know, I know who you are. Creation Huddle. You know what? You got it. Should be wearing the scarf. It's time for a scarf pump. Bitcoin is the all-time high. This is going to be warm, but I think it might be a relatively short um, uh, episode. Well, let's see. What I'm going to cover in this episode is strategy versus MetaPlanet versus the blockchain group versus SWC in UK, really on a very high level. So it's not a, I mean, you'll see. It's not in depth on all of them. There's no possibility for that. But just really on a brief level, talk about what I think investors go through in their minds when they're choosing where to allocate their funds to LBEs. First, before we start that, let's just say it is a Monday, June 9th. The price of Bitcoin is 110,000 more or less. The price of MSTR is $392. And when you look at the outstanding assumed diluted shares, that's 312,820 shares. And with the current Bitcoin price, that means that the market cap of MSTR only, and I mean only, is 1,116,000 Bitcoin. That's the market cap of MSTR. If you take into account all the assumed diluted shares, the price of MSTR, and the price of Bitcoin. And bear in mind that strategy now holds, where do I have it on that page? Bitcoin holdings. That this is, 582,000 Bitcoin is what MSTR holds, and they have a market cap of 1,116,000 odd Bitcoin as their market cap. Now, interestingly, with MSTR, as most people that follow strategy are fully aware of, the last 2 weeks they have not diluted, they have not run the ATM on the common stock, on the MSTR share. Instead, they have been focused on Stride and Strike and Strife. The first one, Stride with a D, we won't see the purchase, I believe, until this coming week. They raised $1 billion, so that should be odd 10,000 Bitcoin. Shy off, and plus whatever comes from Strike and Strife this coming week. So I'm hoping to see 10,000 Bitcoin from MSTR next Monday, and I honestly hope, for the sake of MSTR and my investment there, that will grow from there on. But we'll have to see how that plays out. There's always going to be ups and downs, but let's get into, before I start with that, just a little thing I shared. You know what? No, let's take that. Yeah, no, let's do that. Okay, never mind. We'll do it. I just want to share this with you guys. That is just straight up on TradingView. The price of Bitcoin on Bitstamp, which often is used by most analysts, at least when I started following Bitcoin, as like the official price of Bitcoin. And why am I taking out this price of Bitcoin? Now, it would have been very useful if I shared this with you guys, or just with people in general publicly in early 23. So if we zoom in on back in early 23, basically the bottom was set November 22. That's when I did the first pleb party. And then when that kind of was established, what have you, we're around there. Well, at the entry of the year, that's remember, I remember how I did it. Basically, I said, and this is not, it's not technical analysis. I'm not at all, capable of technical analysis or the high tech stuff. It was just me putting trying to figure out what is realistic price targets that are not regarded for this 4-year cycle. Still to this day, the 4-year cycle is intact. Now that might be gone in next year. We might not get a bear market. We don't know yet, but at least after a bear market in 22 that was painful, then I was very confident that we would have 3 up years, and we are having that so far. So so far so good. So actually around this time, March 23, and I think actually it was before, around here, I said, I think it's realistic to say that in this 3-year up period, that wherever we started the year from, at 1st of January 23, which was 16,506, 16, I believe that will go to 40,000. And so the blue line was what I randomly drew, no TA for 2023, and it looked. And it's funny how we ended up like bouncing on it twice, and a third time we hit it, we actually broke down, you could say, and then we went up, and then we followed it. And I thought that's pretty cool, this random drawn line, just looking at past bull runs and my sort of conservative estimations for how the price of Bitcoin would develop in the 3 up years that I was sure of, and that we definitely have. And then going to the middle year of the bull run, I lowered the expectations a little bit to only a quote unquote 100% growth in the price of Bitcoin from 40 to 80,000. I thought when the ETFs got approved and they really started running up to 73,000 in March 24, I thought, well, that was probably way too conservative. But again, I guess it just turned out that we had a front load of buying of that year because of the ETFs, and that buying didn't come later in the year, and we ended up just going sideways until the election, really, where the Trump victory was pro Bitcoin and therefore pumped the price. And then the green line is my expectations for 25. And that's basically taking us from the 80,000, and knowing that the 3rd year historically always has been more steep, more aggressive, more bullish for Bitcoin. I put that target at more than 100% growth at 200,000, which I still consider conservative. At the same time, it is definitely annoying as a Bitcoiner to see us only at 110,000 this far into the 3rd year. But it's only in the first half of June, which means we are not halfway through the year yet. There is still, as you can tell, we're really not far from the green line, which is, these lines were drawn in the beginning of 23. I think it was around February, March 23. I said these 3 years are my expectations for the 3 year of bull market. And we're so close to it that while current sentiment also to some extent is affecting me negatively for the outlook of the year, when I look at this graph, let me just zoom out again and say that, again, blue line was 23, yellow line was 24, green line 25. We have been, again, this is randomly drawn from conservative price estimates that I had for each of the years. we've been so much online with this estimation or guesstimate conservative from my side, that since we're still relatively close, I would say, yes, we are going to follow the green line. We are going to hit 200,000 this year and hopefully above. That was just a little on that. I just wanted to bring that up. And I haven't been public about this, even though like right now, 2.5 years in, looks obviously super professional to hit it so well. Shared it with some friends from back in 23, just when they had the moment we were talking Bitcoin. But that's about it. I don't claim to know TA at all. So let me move on to the next I want to discuss. Boom, boom, boom. Where's that? Let's go to strategy tracker. Shout out Radu. I hope I said your name right. Let me just get back to this page where there's some key numbers that that are, let me just, while that load, say hey and what's up, Vince. If that was you, Vince, doing the show with Climb, great freaking job. Must watch for everyone that's interested in MetaPlanet and what is up Midwest. Great show, must watch. Everyone should watch if they're exposed, if they're in the LBE space. LBE standing for Leverage Bitcoin Equity. All right, so how are we doing on loading that page? We're doing good now. So let me jump over to this page here. So this hopefully short episode, to just not waste people's time, my focus is to, well, really, when I got into, well, okay, let me rephrase. I got interested in MetaPlanet late April, and I just checked my Fidelity account today. It was the 2nd of May that I started buying MetaPlanet, and most of it I did buy back that time at around that price, which was, I averaged around $4. I got some below and some above, and the average is around $4. And what I immediately found very interesting, and it's all thanks to Climb that ladder for his phenomenal research and that the alpha and signal that he brings, and he's, to a large extent, I mean, I was there watching it, and there might also have been others putting in some research then, but the way I saw it, Climb that ladder was instrumental and really took a big lead on doing the research on MetaPlanet and realizing that it had reached a super attractive stage price that made it attractive for a lot of us that are in MSTR, interested in the leveraged Bitcoin equity space in general, which is super exciting to watch how that's playing out over the world right now, especially looking at, so the point I want to make really is when Climb that ladder made it visible and made it clear for us that not only was MetaPlanet a Japanese stock, hard to get hold of, and with just early on their journey last year, and with a very high MNAV above 10 at some time, it's at one stage I think 15 or 20 even, but in February, MetaPlanet not only was available easier in US, which they became end of November when they listed the ticker MTPLF, but still at that time they were quite expensive, but they've been stacking sats like madmen over there, really killing it, Simon and Dylan, that are executing on that strategy. And what Climb discovered was that because the price had been so expensive, and then the interest had, I guess, a little bit gone away. But what he discovered was that MetaPlanet had fallen down to an MNAV around like 2.5 to 3, around 2.5. And so he started buying, and then he saw how phenomenal an opportunity MetaPlanet was, did a ton of research, which he has shared also with Peter Duan. Shout out to him, at Bullrider on X, and they did the first mini shows together, and great just work for the rest of us in info and signal and alpha there. But what happened, like in my mind, when MetaPlanet showed up, and now I had to look at strategy compared to MetaPlanet and how am I gonna allocate. I also realized that, well, now around the world, definitely around US, with easy access to both, then how are people gonna go through this mentally to make the decision of buying strategy, or buying MetaPlanet, or buying blockchain group, or something else, similar, Cora, Capital 21, Strive, Nakamoto, and the list goes on. And a couple of things I think started to dawn on me. Well, first and foremost, just that it was super exciting and very dynamic, and different things that people are looking for. And strategy may has suffered on the stock price in May, partly because MetaPlanet took some of the spotlight and some of the momentum. And I know plenty of people that sold some of them MSTR to buy MetaPlanet. So of course that has an effect on strategy's stock price. And I will say with this, with strategy tracker here, that these numbers, I mean, credit for putting this together, Rado. It's incredible hard. I was thinking about making a website myself, but I have no plans of that. But just because I would like a place where there's, super updated, crisp, everything perfect information, but I can see how incredibly hard it must be to put that together. But I'm saying this because not all of the information is updated. So careful making financial decisions on any one website or any one live stream, etc. You gotta do some research. You gotta listen to different sources. And I'd like to just underscore that this is not financial advice. This stream is strictly financial entertainment. If you do like the financial entertainment, feel free to like it and subscribe, and share it with someone that you think might find it useful. But bottom line here with strategy versus MetaPlanet versus the blockchain group as the main one that I have personally looked into. I think that obviously people want a fast horse, and strategy is doing great. It has the longest track record, but the BTC yield year to date, almost 6 months in, is quote unquote only 17.3%, which isn't a lot of yield. Granted, the Bitcoin price has been relatively boring, etc. But as investors will look at a company like MetaPlanet and say, they didn't start at the beginning of the year. Like if you start at the beginning of the year, like the blockchain group, naturally it's easy to get a really high year-to-date yield. So, but MetaPlanet were active since April last year. They have the second longest track record of any of the LBEs. And I think it just shows how early we are, that a company that has only been doing this for 14 months is the second longest track record, and that's reliable, and we've got data, which I do believe we have. But I just think it's so exciting and awesome to be here at the very cutting edge of in the investment world, this is running an LBE is, in my opinion, and I mean the numbers speak for themselves, the by far most profitable business any company can be in today. And I do want to say, like, so I've been getting some pushback from some of my old Maxi friends, that I heard Bitcoin because I talk about strategy, aka MicroStrategy Mondays. I think that's nonsense. LBEs, leverage Bitcoin equities like Strategy, MetaPlanet, etc. They help bring about hyper Bitcoinization. They have created the beautiful aqueducts where capital can flow from a dying system of negative yield and communist style committee of fixing the price of the most important commodity in the world, which is the interest rate. Money is the most important commodity in the world because it's half of every transaction. It's one side of every transaction in the world. And the price of it is the interest rate. So MSTR has built the beautiful Roman aqueducts where capital can flow from the terrible legacy, yield-starving, communist regime and system into the Bitcoin black hole, the vortex of value creation. And I think that is beautiful. I think it's a good thing. I think that strategy and these LBEs are helping to bring about the destruction of the destructive system, if you see what I mean. They help bring about getting Bitcoin to $20 million per Bitcoin, so we can start looking up from there, if you see what I'm saying. I think they're phenomenal. So another thing, wait, what was the other thing? So one thing is that heard in Bitcoin talking about strategy. What was it? I had another point. That's gone. That may come back. In the meantime, Black Cat and Aloha from Dana. Aloha, I hope Hawaii is treating you well. But strategy, MetaPlanet has that long track record. And if we're going back and looking at Dana, you are most welcome. I'm doing this, as you probably know, because I think this is super exciting. And not only is it a very important part of hyper Bitcoinization that these leveraged Bitcoin equities have created these aqueducts to get that capital flowing into actual Bitcoin on their balance sheets. It's also not only great for Bitcoin, it's therefore also great for humanity, and just really interesting to watch it right now. Like right now, millions, not millions, maybe, a lot of people are looking at these particular parameters that I want to go through a little bit today with the MNAV, et cetera, and deciding how are they going to allocate their LBE funds. So having in mind that MetaPlanet has a track record since April last year, coming into this year with already a lot of Bitcoin on the balance sheet, I think that it makes sense and is reasonable and fair to compare strategy to MetaPlanet. And I think what a lot of people are finding out is that the unique situation that MetaPlanet has in Japan, where they are the by far most tax advantageous way of investing in Bitcoin, and also literally the only escape valve. There is not even a Bitcoin ETF. They are the only escape valve for a rotten financial system, yield deprived, human depriving, joy depriving, like the legacy system is no bueno. Let me put it that way. So it's fair to look at MetaPlanet's yield compared to strategies year to date. And before I go into it, again, I'll bring the numbers up again. I did not sell any MSTR to buy MetaPlanet. I found some money another way. I did buy MetaPlanet. I took on a position about a third of what I had in MSTR, and since I bought it May 2nd, so a bit more than a month ago, a month and a week, it has grown up to be a little bit more than my MSTR exposure. And I'm not planning to do anything with either of those. I believe I'm very bullish on both of those right now. Real quick, yep, no, that's looking good. So let's have a look at these numbers again. So if you look at strategy on the left, and you go to from the bottom, it's like number 6. You got BTC yield year to date of 17.3%, and you have BTC yield quarter to date. Now, similar. And the BTC yield quarter to date for strategy, of which we are a bit more than 2 months into Q2, only 5.5%. Yield, which isn't a lot. And I think MetaPlanet and their incredibly fast-spinning flywheel of reflexivity, I'm using a word that I'm not fully aware of, I just have a hint of what it means, but it's a fancy word. And as a second language, first generation immigrant, I'm just playing with a word. Okay, bear with me. I had to try and put that into a sentence, reflexivity. But 5.6% for strategy, more than 2 months in. And then let's just quickly, we're jumping over Semler real quick. I did take a small position in Semler because the MNAV was so low. And then I got out again because with a tiny profit, nothing that was worth, even talking about. But just because I want to be on the fastest horses. Now, I will say I'm super bullish on strategy for the second half of this year and going forward in general, because strategy with the preferred stocks that do not dilute the common stock once they go in S&P 500 and they become credit rated, that will positively affect the credit rating of these 3 preferred. And if on top of that, they themselves get a specific credit rating, as you can hear, I'm not an expert in credit rating agencies and credit ratings, but once they do get credit rated, each of these 3, then that really opens up capital pools. And strategy is currently the only company which is tapping into the $300 trillion bond market, which is why I said early in the stream, I wouldn't be surprised if strategy is buying more than 10,000 Bitcoin next Monday, announce it next Monday, because the 1 billion from the Stride IPO. But also, as I've said for a while now, I could see strategy raising billions and billions and tens of billions easily if they get these ratings in place during Q3 and especially Q4. And even though they have a big stack, that could have a dramatic bullish upside effect on the yield that they're able to generate. As I said early in the stream, the market cap of strategy in the unit the only unit I think is really worth focusing on, the only unit of account that truly matters is Bitcoin. The market cap is 1,116,000 Bitcoin. I do believe that strategy will reach at least 2.1 million, plus they'll be able to generate income from that. So I think MSTR is cheap. I'm not selling my MSTR, but moving on to MetaPlanet has turned out to be the fastest horse in the race this year so far. I can see already now I can forget about making this a short stream because we're half an hour in approximately. Anyways, but as I said a little while back, MetaPlanet also came into the year with substantial Bitcoin because they were stacking since April last year. So I think looking at their yield year to date and quarter to date is a relatively valid comparison to Strategy, relatively. And their yield to date, Bitcoin per share, is a mind-blowing 225%. There's 225% more Bitcoin per share, per MetaPlanet share now than there was the 1st of January. Strategy has gone up 17.3%. MetaPlanet 225.4%. That's a huge difference. And it's, again, it's highly likely to do with that unique situation that MetaPlanet is enjoying in Japan, being the only escape valve from the crappy yield deprived legacy financial system, and being also the most tax advantageous way of buying Bitcoin and through the NISA account, and the only way of getting Bitcoin exposure. Like that, MetaPlanet is the escape valve, and it can go, and I think it will go. It's not financial advice, a lot higher. I know Climb is talking about, he's planning to sit on it until it reaches $400. MetaPlanet right now, the shares is at $11.50, and that's why I'm saying take these numbers with a grain of salt. And it's very hard. There's no critique. It's very hard to have numbers from a billion different sources completely correct and updated. But right here it says MetaPlanet stock price 10.68, but it actually is around $11.6 after today's trading. So the yield and what makes me really bullish for MetaPlanet, because the blockchain group. Okay, so about a month ago, I also took a small position in the blockchain group, just because I had FOMO of missing out on that. And again, that's not financial advice, but they are also killing it. Granted, if you look, so the blockchain group, you see it furthest on the right here, the BTC yield to date is more than 1,000, but they started this year. That's why the year to date BTC yield, I think, is not a real apples to apples comparison, where I think it's more fair to do that with Strategy and MetaPlanet. So I'm looking to comparing blockchain group with MetaPlanet. I'm looking at the quarter to date with 2.5 months. Sorry, approximately almost 2.5 months into the second quarter of 2025, and therefore looking at the quarter to date BTC yield, I think is a relatively fair comparison of these LBEs. And Strategy, again, 5.5%. MetaPlanet with 66%, and the blockchain group with 48%. Now, the two latter being so close that we're like one announcement away of the blockchain group shooting above MetaPlanet, they're a neck and neck more or less, or not far from each other. So either could be outperforming. I have no idea. I'm just a guy on the internet with a cap, a t-shirt, and a scarf in LA. What's he even thinking? Anyways, those are the facts. So back to my own positioning as my strategy, and because MetaPlanet has done so well, it's now the size of my strategy, a little bit more than the size of my strategy investment or exposure, which is split in a couple of different things, including Strike. The blockchain group I have only around a 15th, so it's very little what I have there, but I do like to have some there. Either of those, MetaPlanet or blockchain group, may kill it. I think what I personally really like with MetaPlanet is 14 months, second longest track record in the LBE space, absolutely killing it, destroying it. They have a new capital plan out that we're going to talk about more tomorrow. Tomorrow, 9 a.m. will, I hope, be the best show I've ever hosted. I'm having 4 absolutely MetaPlanet G's masterminds on. It's on the same YouTube channel here. It's called MetaPlanet Roundtable 2, also streamed to my X account. And that will be Climb That Ladder. It will be Raekwon. It's Adam Livingston. and Brian Brookshire at BTC Overflow. Those 4 guys are amazing when it comes to understanding and explaining and really digging into MetaPlanet, and that's gonna be one fire show for sure. 9 a.m. Pacific time tomorrow. That means that will be noon if you're on Eastern time, or let's say you're in Central Europe, it will be 6 p.m. on a Tuesday. Club's going up on a Tuesday, so I guess that's fair. So why am I much heavier in MetaPlanet than the blockchain group? Well, it's still very early, I guess, for blockchain group, and I think it's going to be hard to outperform MetaPlanet, but they might match, and they might even outperform. But MetaPlanet just has that 14 months amazing track record, amazing more well-known leadership team and strategy and execution that is just what a flywheel going on high speed. Good. Okay, there's a. I gotta figure out how to like disconnect my Apple phone from my computer, because notifications there starts interfering, and I apologize for that, but I'm not a tech wizard. My bad. But so let me just jump to a couple of comments here. Paul Ryan, good overview. Concentrate on the macro scene of corporate purchases. This is needed in the space. I'm doing what I can. I'm not sure if that's what I'm doing. I hope so. Treasury Voyager, happy Monday, Anders. Thank you so much, and same to all of you out there. And Paul is saying, agree that adoption by MSTR and others is a positive for Bitcoin. Absolutely. All right. So back to this also. So apart from the BTC yield, an absolute killer important key number to look at is naturally the NAV premium, the MNAV or NAV premium, the multiple that the market cap of the company has to its net assets value, which is predominantly Bitcoin, of course. And strategy has become quite the value play there, with an MNAV of only 1.92, taking into account that they right now are able to buy Bitcoin through preferred stocks without diluting the common stock. But to the defense of MetaPlanet and Blockchain Group and the other LBEs, yeah, well, they don't have the same need for the preferred stocks yet, because when their MNAVs are so much higher, it is so much more accretive selling the common stock that they don't have that need that strategy does right now, because the MNAV has gone a little bit on the low side of where investors want it, where I think strategy want it, and they're now quote unquote fixing it by buying corn without the use of ATM in the common stock. But the MNAV, back to that, that's a crucial figure, and again, these numbers here on Strategy Tracker, you need to take it with a grain of salt. It is hard for Rado to keep everything crisp, clear, up to date, and that's not the fault of anyone building a website. It's also sources of data, et cetera, et cetera. But the MNAV premium here on MetaPlanet, it says 8.3. Now the stock is $1 higher than it says here, so that is probably a little bit higher. In actuality, maybe more slightly above 9, where at Blockchain Group, again, I have not verified these numbers, so you need to verify yourself if you want to be sure about it. Says a little bit above 10, so they're not far from each other. Blockchain Groups, you pay a little bit more, but they also do have exciting things going on. But MetaPlanet has been showing the same BTC yield per quarter, in fact, been the best BTC yield per quarter to date. So MetaPlanet maybe is a little bit more attractive priced at this point. That is what it is. Then I also want to jump to to real quick show you, as people who have followed LBEs in the space have and on X have probably heard the noise of this company SWC, which about, I think, 1.5 months ago had 4 Bitcoin on the balance sheet. So obviously they're exploding from a very low level. Let's see, BTC per share, and the total. I want to go to the MNAV here. So just real quick on SWC. So it's about 1.5 months they have been an LB, I guess. And it seems. And they have been stacking very hard and very aggressively. And when you compare the BTC yield compared to the ones that have been in the space a little bit longer, of course, it seems they are growing faster, but it's also easier to grow fast if you start with 4 Bitcoin. And they have now reached, I think, just above 100. But I'm just keeping my eye on it. I did put in a limit order, and that didn't get filled because the stock is moving. That's been sitting there since I don't know, mid last week or something like that, Thursday, I can't remember. That's probably never going to get filled, and it's okay because MetaPlanet, let's take it in the order of covering them. Strategy, I'm very happy with their outlook. I'm bullish for the second half of the year. I'm bullish for Strategy going forward. I think it's undervalued. It's amazing the longest track record by far. So they may not grow as fast as MetaPlanet. They highly likely won't. But MetaPlanet, I'm very happy with the second longest track record in this space. Amazing execution, amazing setup and market they're operating, where they are the only escape well in Japan. So Blockchain Group was my only sort of dabbling a little bit into my feelings of FOMO on these new early ones. SWC might be a really good investment. It probably has been. I think it has been the last month, and only recently. Now it's easier to put in a trade on Fidelity in US and buy it without having to call in, and all of these things, and it all helps. But will these guys be able to blow MetaPlanet out of the water? I just don't think so. MetaPlanet will probably be better performing, but I like what's going on in France, and I'm looking forward to learn more about it. And I dabble a little bit into that just to have some exposure and to feed my FOMO, which is strong. I'm the type of guy that when I first discover something and I think this is the future, I can, like, dollar cost average, forget about it. Like, I remember buying Strategy. Now I got family members into Strategy all the way back in 21, but only started myself last year, and I dollar cost averaged into MSTR over 2 trading days. Like, that was the best dollar cost average I could do. I could not wait. And that was good because that was end of September and 1st of October. So it was good to get that in before that beautiful run up in October and November we had. Anyways, back to SWC. Again, these websites and the level of up-to-date of the information is something that you gotta take with a grain of salt, and you gotta just verify. For instance, here, let me just refresh the page, but it is showing the last date of this MNAV calculation, which we're seeing here on the first line, is saying the 6th of June, and it's now the 9th of June. So that is from Friday. It's showing the price in pence or pound in UK, and the dollar price that then is compared to, and that says $1.10. And today I saw SWC trading on Fidelity at a $1.45, so that's already up a lot since then. Do I hate not having any? Yeah, absolutely, but you can't own it all. And I'll just leave my limit order, which will never be filled because it's actually at, I think, 97 cents or something. But in terms of looking at what I said is a really, both the speed of accumulation and the MNAV are really important. And the MNAV on this calculation is 6 point. Let me just make sure that I'm showing. Yep, is 6.61. But since then, the price has gone up substantially, so the MNAV now is likely more comparative to the MNAV of MetaPlanet and the blockchain group in Paris. But I think I pretty much have covered the things I wanted to cover. I'm trying to not speak for 2 hours if it can be done in 50 minutes, even though it's always fun when there's a lot of live viewers and it's fun to take questions. Right now there's 605 live viewers, mostly on X and some on YouTube as well. But again, nothing is financial advice. It's only financial entertainment. Don't take advice from a guy wearing a cap, a t-shirt, and a scarf in a hotel room somewhere in LA. Although the colors are predominantly orange, right? So that's a plus, though. I would say for the credibility. But yeah, it's just financial entertainment. But if you like the entertainment, feel free to like and subscribe and share it with someone if you find them to be that they could have use for it. Now, if you want MetaPlanet, like MSTR, the best signal for MSTR, you got to watch MSTR True North. They come out every Wednesday, 7 p.m. PST, I do believe it is. I'm pretty sure it is. The MSTR True North group, great. When it comes to MetaPlanet signal, you want to watch anything that Climb That Ladder is putting out, especially the YouTubes that he's doing, that he now started doing with Vince. Just amazing content. Those are the must watch. I'm just the guy in the corner throwing some thoughts on it, and like to host some smart people. And that's another plug for tomorrow. 9 a.m. PST is gonna be insane according to my expectations, at least. Climb That Ladder will be on MetaPlanet Roundtable 2 tomorrow, 9 a.m. PST. It's Tuesday, PST Pacific time. He will be joined by my favorite Raekwon. Anyone who knows Ryan loves Ryan. And so that's maximum signal and entertainment right there for you. And then Adam Livingston, which is also just dropping a bombshell after bombshell of signal and alpha on MetaPlanet in particular. And he's going to be there. And then Brian Brookshire also, he was on the first MetaPlanet Roundtable from Tuesday last week. The MetaPlanet Roundtable series is one that I am going to do my very best to put out every Tuesday on that time, 9 a.m. PST. Brian has lived in Japan. He shared experiences from that last Tuesday, and really just general input in understanding Japanese mentality and Japanese when it comes to investing, and they prefer to buy local. And there's many countries around the world where this is going to play into effect, where they have more closer to, well, right now MetaPlanet does have a monopoly in running the strategy playbook and selling LBE capital instruments right now, only being the common stock. The preferred stocks are going to come definitely also in Japan, and they're probably going to sell them around the world. What's important, what's key for their growth is that in Japan right now, they have monopoly on that. And that means us being able to buy them in US is, while we're buying, sure, they're competing with the other LBEs in US, but we're buying an equity that has monopoly in Japan, the second largest economy in the world. And that's pretty mind-blowing and awesome. And they're showing the results to match that awesomeness. They're killing it. So that makes the fact on top of that, as that was the point I was trying to make, that Brian spoke about last week, and he'll be on tomorrow, is there is a tendency to prefer to buy local companies and buy local in Japan. And I guess there's there's trust and everything, and I think we can all relate to it's easier, and you feel like you're within the same legal framework and as an investment of a company that is listed in the country you're in and are located in the country that you're in. And so that whole setup for MetaPlanet in Japan, having the current monopoly and having the local culture in the second largest economy makes me uber bullish on MetaPlanet. Blockchain Group, it's exciting. They're much earlier on their journey, starting the beginning of this year, have done incredible yield, more than 1,000% BTC yield, means Bitcoin per share since that. But again, it's easy to get a high number if you start low, and if you start from 0, or you start from 1 or 10 Bitcoin or whatever you start from. But they're killing it. I'm looking forward to following that more. I will be going to BTC Prague next week, where I MC. I will MC Dev Hack Day, and I believe it is Industry Day I'm MCing at. Less pressure than last year. I did main stage during, well, it's been main stage all 3 years, but that was during the general conference where I introduced Sailor on stage, which was a lot of fun. And that's the one time you see a full auditorium, like a big hall where every single seat is taken. That's when Sailor is about to speak. So that was fun. But there's gonna be also in Prague a Bitcoin for companies or corporations day, or something that Alexandra, the blockchain group, I think are putting together, and I think Sailor is going to be there as well. And go to Alexander's X profile, where there is a link to, you can sign up to go on the wait list. And I don't know, I have a speaker's pass. I don't know if it's part of BTC Prague or if it's completely a side event, but I signed up for it and I have the speaker's pass, and I don't know, hopefully one of those things will get me in. Otherwise, I'll just say, I'm press, I'm from X, we are the press now, right? Something like that. Anyways, I think that's about it. I covered also SWC slightly, and they might kill it. I haven't allocated anything yet, and if I did, it would be very little. I like strategy for the little bit longer, solid value play, still going to outperform Bitcoin, still going to do amazing. And MetaPlanet really is a bit of a favorite at the moment, but let's see what happens. I haven't sold anything of either of them. All right, let me just check the comments here further real quick before I end the show, see if there's anything. All right, let me read this one from BitSurf. There has been concern about MetaPlanet and other foreign companies possibly being PFICS with complicated tax consequences for these. Does anyone know if they are PFICS for a fact? So I heard about this first time about 1.5 hours ago in a group chat for LBE fans, investors, call it what you want, degens like myself. And I don't know anything about it other than my gut feeling is that so far these companies are regulated and listed as regular companies. They may be making their value growth from buying Bitcoin, holding a lot of Bitcoin, but they are not ETFs, they're not investment funds, whatever. So personally, until I hear anything else, I will not invest in something like MetaPlanet, because maybe there's going to be a different tax consequence. At this point, all I can say is it's fear, uncertainty, and doubt. Maybe it turns out to be a problem. We'll look at it then, but I'm not going to not be in what I believe is going to be an insane investment because maybe the tax is higher than normal investing. And even if it is higher, I think I'll be happy to be in MetaPlanet. I'm definitely not selling because of that, not anytime soon. Other than that, thank you guys and gals for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. I enjoy if there's questions, comments. I like to do these live because then if there are questions or comments, that can be woven into the show. But yeah, thanks for watching. If you want a really good show, that will be 9 a.m. tomorrow morning Pacific Standard Time on the same channel, either YouTube or X, with Climb That Ladder, Raekwon, Adam Livingston, and Brian Brookshire. I think that it's going to be phenomenal. Can't wait to try and pick their brains and bring some bull juice and moon juice to your veins, so we can have a good time. All right, thank you very much for watching. This is Monday, so it's finally an MSTR Monday on a Monday. I like to do it all over just to mess with the name there. All right. Thank you, and I hope you guys have a great Monday evening and week in general, and I'll see some of you probably a lot tomorrow morning.